So hello good people of the internet, it is Tommy Kelly once again, and this is the monthly questions and answerings Patreon thing. And we have some questions this week, and an awful lot of questions. So next month I might just open this up to everyone, not just patrons, but I'm not sure because then, it is a reward of being a patron. Hard to know. If you can think of something that's better than a question and answer video, then let me know and I'll add that as a reward rather than this, because maybe this is just a shit reward and no one wants it. But so there you go. Anyway, we'll get cracking straight into this. So Peter asks, have you taken any psychedelics? If so, do you use them in magic? What's your opinion on psychedelics regarding to magic? I have taken psychedelics, but it was a long time ago. It would have been when I was 19, 20 possibly, and I took I had LSD a couple of times and I had mushrooms a couple of times. I had some really good experiences on mushrooms, on the magic mushroom, psilocybin mushrooms, and one particularly horrifying, very paranoid, horrible experience. And LSD, yeah, both were just kind of all right. They were interesting in of themselves, but I didn't feel in control of it at all, and I didn't like it, and it went on far too long, and I didn't find any magic in it or any kind of spiritual thing or anything. It felt like I was on drugs. That's it. So my experiences of psychedelics are that they're like being on drugs. I haven't had any magic experience with them. Not opposed to it. Like, I can understand going from all the active imagination type stuff, and the imagination is as much real as reality and all that. So I can, I wouldn't dismiss someone who had some sort of spiritual insight on drugs, but I can't really speak to it because I've never had one, and I even one stage, one of the things, I was in this house and the entire house started filling up with people who had lived there, and like I could see time differently, and I could see, but it like I was on drugs. I wasn't actually seeing time differently. I wasn't experiencing everyone who lived there, and because when I thought about it rationally afterwards, the house wasn't that old, so it couldn't have been that. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I have a big bag of ayahuasca sitting on my shelf downstairs that I may or may not someday take, but I don't know if it's real. I assume it's real. It looks real, going by any research I've put into it. But I don't know. Someday. I'm not scared of it. I'm slightly apprehensive of it. Because I had such a terrible, horrible experience once. I just got really paranoid, thought everyone was talking about me, really unsure about myself. I was about 5 to 10 seconds behind everyone else in the room. So I had this, it just felt like constant deja vu. I felt really uncomfortable, really unsafe. Your classic bad trip type thing, And I also took once a lot of mushrooms and nothing happened, while everyone else around me went mental, and absolutely nothing happened at all. So that's it. Yeah, but as I say, it's 20 years ago. So I recently did Blue Lotus a couple of times in wine and in tea and stuff, and it did nothing for me either. And these days I would have no idea how to even get hold of any sort of drugs at all. So all that is long in the past. I wouldn't even know how people do it anymore. So there you go. So the next question is from, now here's the thing, I'm going to get this wrong because this name could be pronounced any number of ways. Andrea, and her second name, Guerrera. In Ireland it would be pronounced Andrea, but they've also started pronouncing it Andrea recently. But Andrea, so if not, my apologies. She asks, what are your ocular preferences? Do you like to see what the fate is holding up for you? And before the servants, how would you see or foresee or read, insert the best verb here, I think foresee probably is it? Your life and people around you. I'm not into divination that much at all, and I never have been. I don't like the idea that I can do some sort of reading and then think it's locked in, and that can affect me in a kind of a negative way, and so I tend not to do anything. The only thing I might do reading about is about information that I wouldn't have at hand, what's going on rather than what's going to happen. Over the years, I've used things like pendulums, but I don't find them accurate. I've done the kinesiology thing where you ask the muscle testing thing. It's not. I didn't find it anyway accurate at all. I did a lot of tarot. I was in BOTA for a long while, and I ended up I just was given all the lessons. So I've read all them and I've gone through all of that stuff, and I think the tarot is much better as a meditative tool, possibly a magic tool rather than divination tool. I don't find the tarot that accurate for me. And that's the thing when people ask me about divination and 40 servants and kind of stuff like that, my kind of answer is I'm not that good at it, so I don't I don't want to give tremendous advice on how to do divination because it's just not something I'm particularly good at. Now, people go, then I shouldn't be doing it. Well, not people, one person said, I shouldn't make a divination system. And for me, I think that's kind of wrong because it's like saying a mechanic shouldn't make a car if they're not like a Formula One race driver, if they're not really good at driving it. They can be good at creating engines, not necessarily good at driving the car. Or I'm sure I could come up with loads of other examples, but that's the one that came into my head. So in general, I very, very, very seldom would do any sort of divination whatsoever. I would mostly go with my gut and intuition on things anyway, and how I feel rather than card. And also I find that you could have the exact answer in your divination in front of you, and your own blinders are going to stop you seeing what it is. So someone else doing it is probably a better thing. So I do it for other people very occasionally as well. I know people who are really good at it, and I'm not. And I'm also coupling that with I don't really want to know anyway, because I don't want to feel that the future is in any way locked in. Like I was told years ago by a fortune teller who was very accurate and knew dead people, names of relatives and all that, like proper, really knew them, to that it would be very convincing to prove or to make yourself believe that life after that and all that, go and buy this, or that fortune tellers are really, really good at bluffing people. Either way, it's quite impressive. Whatever it was overall very impressive. And she was telling me that ultimately I wouldn't get what I wanted in a particular thing I was working on time, and a work thing at a time, and that just annoyed me, destroyed me. Like, and I was like going, like, what's the point? And kind of got into depression thinking that because everything else seemed so accurate or whatever. Turned out I did get the thing, and all that anguish was needless and whatever. And there's all that thing of, if it hadn't been said to you, you wouldn't have worked hard and all that. So I understand all that. I see all that. I don't know. Just I don't need it to do what I do, and it's not something I'm particularly good at or accurate with. So I don't really use it. So probably not the answer you wanted there, but yeah, that's kind of it. So William has a few questions. And his first one is, how do you combat resistance? And in brackets, creative. So how do you combat creative resistance? Okay, so I'm going to have to kind of guess what you mean here by, there'll be a couple of things. How to get resistance to actually doing it, and, like to kind of get motivated and to actually do these things, or pick up new things. And that can be hard. It can be particularly hard when I was doing comics and drawing comics, and I was putting all this effort in and getting, thing I talked about before in the criticism podcast about that as not, an artist, I tried to bare my soul and give all that stuff out. And then when you do all that and you put so much effort in and no one cares, or not enough people care for, it to be significant to you, like when I say no one cares, like 25 people cared or 100 people cared, but it wasn't not even 100 people on them, just like no one, like literally no one cared. And that can be quite soul destroying in the kind of way of doing the next one. You kind of go, it's like getting past the whole, what is the point? In that I know where it ends up. I know where it ends up being, but going through all the hard work and getting stuff out or whatever, and then for it ultimately for it to go nowhere, so just to be put out and for no one to care. Now, there's a whole thing that you should do art for yourself, and it doesn't matter what anyone cares. And yeah and no. If that's the case, no one would publish anything online. No one would hang any paintings in galleries. No one would do anything. There is an end point of art, is when it goes out into the world. And if that doesn't happen, I was going to say it's not art, but of course it's art. For me, I think that is the final thing of it going out in the world. And if it's going out in the world, no one cares. Number one, you should have a look at yourself and see what you're doing. Like maybe it's shit or whatever. Like, but if you genuinely think it's okay, like, and it's good. And the thing about them was, I think it was as good as I can do in a comic. Like, that's kind of it. I don't think I can do better than that. I don't think it's the best thing that ever existed in the world ever, but it's definitely the best comic that would ever come out of me by far. Like, it's exactly what I wanted to do. It was from my head into the story, into the magic working, the whole thing. It was what I wanted to do. It was exactly what I wanted to achieve. Individual panels maybe aren't drawn particularly well, or you could have pointed faults, there's probably spelling mistakes, all that kind of thing. So it's not a perfect thing, whatever, but it's definitely, it's not a perfect thing, and there's probably a couple bits I could improve on, but as an overall thing, it's as good as I can do. And then when I did that and no one cared, that was quite devastating in the resistance of doing it again. And I did great work after that, and it's lots of reasons why that fell apart, mostly because my life kind of fell apart at the time. But that was coming out of that, I know where this road goes, I know what the end result is, and I don't want to go there. So the resistance to be creative in that way is that for me to create leads me to a dark, empty spot where I feel unfulfilled, insignificant, and, for want of a better word, because there isn't one, probably sad. So so the resistance to that is getting out of that. And how I got out of that is by stopping doing it, by not doing comics anymore. Besides, I kind of had said all I wanted to say, and it felt forced. Great work kind of felt forced after Dem, because Dem is what I wanted to say. Holy Numbers 2 was quite a lot getting stuff out. And I kind of just went round for a while, not knowing what I was going to do with myself. And that's when I did the 47s, funny enough. And the 47s was my last hurrah of art altogether. And that once that was done, that was it. I was going off to, get a job somewhere and, pack all this creativity and all this kind of thing. Because that road only led to bitterness and sadness and depression and all that kind of thing. So I goes, right, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not putting myself through this anymore. I've said what I came here to say in many ways, and this is my last hurrah, and I'll do it just for me. Just because I wanted to do it. And I hope people understand when I say that. I literally thought I would release the 47s, 5 to 10 people would have a mild interest in it, sell 2 or 3 of them, and then a week later, totally forgotten. But it was just my thing. That was my final throwing, coins into them. I'm useless when it comes to expressions. Throwing coins in a ring, that's not even a thing. That was my final. Here's me, I'm leaving. Here's me throwing my final thing into the ring, whatever that expression is. And obviously, that's not what happened. So, So creative resistance, change it up slightly, do something slightly different. That thing, if you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, then you're crazy. I don't know. There's also the thing about persevering to the 10,000 hours. It's tough. Being a creative is it's a curse. It's not, it's not a good thing. It's a curse because you're not like other people. You can't do the things other people do, and you can't live that way. And from 99% of the time, you're not going to get what you want back, whatever. And I don't mean that people aren't going to think you're great or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But you're not going to get the satisfaction from life that you hope you get by releasing all of these things creatively. Or at least I haven't. It goes through, it's secular in many different ways and all that. But how to combat resistance to creativity. Change it, stop it, take a break, and then on those days when you really have to, just do it, and you can get through it. You can force creativity, not in a constant way, but on a day when you have to. Like when I'm doing a job for someone and I have to, and I don't feel creative or want to do anything, and I have to do it. You can do it. It turns out you can do it. So hope that's kind of what you meant. If it isn't, then ask me again. How often and how do you integrate your musical talents into your everyday practice? Simple answer: I don't at all. My kind of music career is, I'm sorry, I just had to check the time, because you can only record so long in DSLRs because of tax things or something. I don't know. Music is not really a part of my life anymore, other than I listen to it. It was such a huge part of my life. But come back to again what I said about like doing the comics and all that I know where that road leads to, and it's not a good place. Like doesn't lead to anywhere nice for me or happy for me. And again, creating music, bearing your soul, all that, and then release it to the world, no one caring. I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't want it. I did it for, I did that for 15, 16, 17 years, and I'm not doing that anymore. My guitars are over there and I haven't played them in years, and it was like, that was my obsession. That got me through my teenage years. I definitely 8 or 9 hour, more probably at the weekends of playing guitar. Like I was just constantly playing guitar all the time, and not anymore. Music's just not. I occasionally, like I say, I've charged sigils by listening to music, but not by creating or doing music. So using music in magic, I don't at all anymore. I've never used music other than all art is magic, and it's creation and an expression and all that stuff. So in that way, but not really. So aside from Cyprian, who is your favourite saint out of the traditional saints? Again, I'm not that into saints, and I'm even like growing up as a Catholic in Ireland, and it's all about saints and all this kind of thing. There's a guy, saint who'd be quite popular in the area. I don't know if he's popular else, but it's Saint Gerard Magella, and he'd have a big novena every year, which it was literally like a few days ago. It just ended, and it's like huge business. Like it's like there'd be stalls and everything outside shops, and everyone has the poster, or not the poster, stickers in their cars, and it's a huge thing. I think he's for healing. I'm not really sure. I don't know an awful lot about him. That would be the big popular saint here in my area. Padre Pio also would be massively popular for healing and all that. But there's a book I read recently about him, and he was like a total fraud, like a total huckster altogether, which made, in one sense, is way more impressive because of his legacy and all that kind of thing. But not someone I particularly want to work with in that sense, because why would you want to work with someone who didn't actually do anything more than what you can do, other than he faked doing most of it, according to this book? And it seems quite legitimate that going by the facts, whatever. I'll dig out the Amazon link and I'll put it in the notes below. Other than that, no, saints are not something I'm dramatically or really interested in or drawn to, or something I work with. Not massive into intercessory magic at all, and because it makes me feel helpless, and it makes me feel that I am powerless, and I would rather learn to do these things myself. So if I was ever going to work with saints, or how I work with the 40 services, I don't ask them to do things for me. I ask them to teach me what they know about it so that I can do it. And so if I was working with a saint, that would be the exact same thing. So if I was working with Assistant Jared, if he is the healing or whatever, it would be to show me what I can do for myself that will change my healing ability or my sickness or whatever if I was sick. So yeah, not even Saint Cyprian. Like the thing about Saint Cyprian is, I don't think Saint Cyprian is a thing. I think like Saint Cyprian to me, your mileage may vary, anyone's mileage. This is I'm only talking about myself, because I'm a chaos magician. It's about beliefs. It's not about reality or the truth or any of that. That's what I'm into. I don't believe anything is fundamentally true. I think nothing is fundamentally true from a human perspective, from my perspective, and that's thing. So, like, I don't think Saint Cyprian is a being or is an actual entity or a thing. For me, he is an idea, and he's real in the sense of that a trend is real because you can see it as it moves through, and you can see its impact, and you can understand it, and you can describe it, and you can point at it, but it's not tangible. It's not an actual like you can see say trends in music, and you can point and you can see examples of it, and you can look at it, whatever, like say grunge in the 90s or hair metal in the 80s, and like that, and it's real, but it's not a thing. It's not a tangible. You can't point at hair metal. Or it's like fashion, when you can see fashion going through, the different years. I know and it can be cultivated and it can be pushed in directions and all that. But and you can see, you can see examples, you can see what it does, all that kind of thing. But it's not actually real. Or like money, it's like they're ideas. And Saint Cyprian is definitely an idea that has captured everyone, seemingly at the minute, and it's an energy, if you want, because we've created this energy. We know what it kind of feels like. This necromancer, this guy who was big into Lucifer, hanging out with Lucifer, who got converted to Christianity because he felt it was more powerful magic. But he was, secretly, depending on which way you want to look at it, like he secretly still, kept all his magic or whatever, rather than being fully converted. Some people say, other people say he's totally converted, and the whole point of that story is he's totally converted and becomes a bishop and he becomes totally Jesus man. You can take whatever you want from it because it's not true. And this is the whole point. That story's not true. It's taken from a number of other stories. And even his name's taken from other things. So while say working with saints, he's an idea. He's not I don't see him as an entity. I don't see him as an actual thing. And, I don't see any of them as actual things. But that doesn't mean they're not real. And I'm not putting them down by saying that. It's that, it's that they're useful ideas in the sense that Tommy Kelly is an idea. He's not or Facebook is an idea. The internet's probably a good example of this because it's like you can point at a website, but you can't point at the internet, or you can't point at, but it doesn't mean it's not real. Not explaining this well remotely at all, and it's not the question you asked me, but so saints I'm not, it's not my thing. Not against it, and if it was something that I felt I could work with, I would happily work with any of them and check it out or whatever. Just it's not something I've ever been spend any sort of time with other than Saint Cyprian, and again using him as an idea, as an archetype, as a something that is another word for idea. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers all your questions. I feel that in this one that I didn't give necessarily the answers that people probably wanted or expected. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's exactly what you thought I would say. But yeah, that's it. So for next month, I will, if people don't ask more questions, I'll have to reshuffle this bit and try and come up with a different idea, because maybe it's a bit useless idea and people aren't really into it. Like, do people really care what I think about any of these things? Or I'll open it up more generally, whatever. So if you can give me a bit of feedback on that and what you think about that, or like a team, maybe in a different, a podcast or a different video or something, some sort of video I can do every month that has an interaction between the patrons and myself, rather than just doing a video that everyone has, like that it's just for everyone. That's some sort of thing that I can give as a reward or as a thank you to people who actually, who send me money to do the stuff I do. So yeah, the Patreon, if you want to get in on it, is tommykelly.com, TOMMIE. My blog is adventuresandwoowoo.com. I'm on Facebook as Adventures and Woowoo. I have a photography art page on Facebook as well. There's the 47th group. There's the Brazilian, Spanish versions of the group, and there is the 40 Shadows group, which you can get into as part of the Patreon. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Strava, Pinterest, all the things. So thanks for watching, and thanks for sending me your questions, and good people of the internet, be good.